The moon, Earth's loyal companion. Have you ever looked up at the night sky and noticed a bright, glowing object that seems to follow you wherever you go? That's the moon, Earth's closest neighbor in space. The moon has fascinated humans for thousands of years. It has inspired stories, songs, and even space missions. But what exactly is the moon? How did it form? And why is it so important to life on Earth? Let's take a journey to explore the mysteries and wonders of the moon. What is the moon? The moon is Earth's only natural satellite. A satellite is an object that orbits a planet. The moon is much smaller than Earth, about 1/4 the size of our planet. It doesn't have an atmosphere like Earth's, which means there's no air to breathe, no weather, and no protection from the sun's rays. Because of this, the moon's surface is covered in craters, mountains, and vast flat areas called plains. How did the moon form? Scientists believe the moon formed about 4.5 billion years ago, not long after the Earth itself was born. The most popular theory is called the giant impact hypothesis. Here's how it works. A collision in space. A long time ago, a Mars-sized object crashed into the young Earth. This was a massive collision that sent debris flying into space. Debris forms a ring. The debris from the collision gathered together and formed a ring around Earth. Much like the rings around Saturn, the moon is born. Over time, the debris clumped together and formed the moon. This explains why the moon is made of similar materials as Earth's outer layers. Isn't it amazing to think that the moon might have been born from a giant cosmic crash? What's on the moon's surface? The moon's surface is full of interesting features. Let's explore some of them. Craters. The moon is covered in round holes, called craters. These were formed when asteroids and comets crashed into the moon's surface. Because the moon has no atmosphere, there's nothing to stop these space rocks from hitting it. Maria. The dark patches on the moon are called Maria, which means seas in Latin. Early astronomers thought these were actual seas, but they're actually flat plains made of hardened lava from ancient volcanic eruptions. Mountains and valleys. The moon has tall mountains and deep valleys. Some of these mountains are even taller than Mount Everest on Earth. Regolith. The moon's surface is covered in a layer of dust and tiny rocks called regolith. This material was created by billions of years of meteorite impacts. Why does the moon shine? The moon doesn't produce its own light. Instead, it reflects sunlight, just like a mirror. When we see the moon glowing in the night sky, we're actually seeing sunlight bouncing off its surface. The amount of the moon we see changes depending on its position relative to the Earth and the Sun. These changes are called phases of the moon. The phases of the moon goes through 8 main phases as it orbits Earth. Here's a quick guide. New moon. The moon is between the Earth and the Sun, so we can't see it. Waxing crescent. A small sliver of the moon becomes visible. First quarter. Half of the moon is lit up. Waxing gibbous. More than half of the moon is visible. Full moon. The entire face of the moon is lit up. Waning gibbous. The moon starts to shrink. Last quarter, half of the moon is lit again. But on the opposite side, waning crescent. Only a small sliver is left before the cycle starts over. These phases take about 29.5 days to complete, which is why we have months. The moon's gravity and tides. Did you know the moon affects the oceans on Earth? The moon's gravity pulls on Earth, creating a force that causes the ocean's water to bulge. This creates tides. When the moon is closest to a part of the Earth, it causes high tide. When it's farther away, it causes low tide. The sun also affects tides, but the moon's gravity is stronger because it's closer to Earth. humans and the moon. The moon has always been a source of wonder for humans. Ancient cultures told stories about the moon and used it to track time. In 1969, humans finally set foot on the moon during NASA's Apollo 11 mission. Astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were the first people to walk on the moon. Neil Armstrong famously said, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Since then, 12 astronauts have walked on the moon, and they've brought back rocks and soil to study. Scientists are still learning from these samples today. Could we live on the moon? Right now, the moon isn't a very friendly place for humans. There's no air, no water, and temperatures can swing from extremely hot to extremely cold. But scientists are working on ways to build bases on the moon. These bases would have to be sealed and protected, almost like living in a spacesuit all the time. Maybe one day you could visit the moon and see Earth from a whole new perspective. Fun facts about the moon. The moon is slowly moving away from Earth at a rate of about 1.5 inches per year. The moon's gravity is much weaker than Earth's. If you weighed 60 pounds on Earth, you'd only weigh 10 pounds on the moon. The dark side of the moon isn't actually dark, it just faces away from Earth, so we never see it. The moon has moonquakes, which are like earthquakes, but much weaker. Why is the moon important? The moon plays a big role in keeping Earth stable. Its gravity helps keep Earth's tilt steady, which gives us our seasons. Without the moon, Earth might wobble more, causing extreme weather changes. The moon also lights up the night sky, helping animals navigate in the dark. Conclusion: our cosmic neighbor. The moon is more than just a pretty light in the sky. It's a fascinating world with a rich history and a big impact on life on Earth. Whether you're gazing at a full moon, learning about its phases, or dreaming of visiting it one day, the moon is a reminder of how amazing our universe is. So next time you look up at the night sky, take a moment to appreciate Earth's loyal companion, the moon. Who knows? Maybe one day you'll be the one exploring its craters and mountains. Until then, keep dreaming and looking up at the stars.